Although weeping lasted all night, I know that joy comes in the morning light. So I march on to a new song, 'cause I've been marching to that old one way too long. And I gotta move on and take new steps every day, 'cause I know there has got to be another way. And a brighter day, so I march on.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to P.U.R.E Live. It is Friday night at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, so if you are looking at me, you are where you're supposed to be. And for all of you that have watched the show, you know that we start off with our sponsors. So here we go.
In a recent service, Pastor Dan asked if anyone felt disconnected, not apart, all by yourself, alone, or on your own. Realizing that every day, too many people in our community and even in our churches feel disconnected. In our CFC Life Group, we want to let people know that they belong. That's the most important reasons that we have life groups. And now we've added an online community access. With social media fellowship, we consider that connecting people can be messy. Sometimes we have real challenges such as schedule conflicts, transportation and mobility issues, as well as just feeling too tired to travel. We purposefully schedule our life group sessions to explore life application of the message with a discussion among friends. This online life group is hosted by Drs. Aaron and Margaret Jamal, who truly enjoy exploring life in God's Word. So we invite you to belong. Join the newly launched CFC Online Life Group today.
So when are you supposed to join that life group? Today. And we have Posh Women's Apparel. For those of you that are wondering where I get so many of my fly clothes that I wear, this is where you get from. And here are some of the outfits that she has on the site. It is poshwomensapparel.com. If you're feeling what I'm wearing. So tight. All right. Now we are going to get it going. Today we have with us a wonderfully talented young lady who I've grown to love and appreciate. We have Evelyn Donelson with us.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, that we're wondering what this title is about. So here we go. Transition, Ashes, Emanating Beauty. So we're going to talk about this. So just like last week, I got the title from the guest book that I had. And in this situation, it is the same. This is the title of the book that she has written in. And this is the cover here of the book. This is the back of the book. So this was a collaborative effort. She's one of the writers in the book. So please introduce yourself. Tell them who you are, what you do, and your part in the book.
I am Evelyn Donelson. I am first and foremost an educator. Well, first and foremost, a woman of God. I'm an educator. I've been in the field for 22 years. I started with teaching preschoolers, so now I teach teachers. I am also a transitional and professional life coach. I help spiritual women evolve into the strong leaders that God created them to be so that they can flourish in their communities. And their community can be their home, their workplace, their church, in the community. So that's what I do. I
Okay.
coach, I mentor, and I train.
Excellent. Excellent. So, what is this book about in regards to your collaborative efforts?
Oh my goodness. So this book is a book of memoirs from six women. I'm one of the six women who
Okay.
collaborated to tell our stories. We told stories that that would help people understand that because you fallen or because you struggled or you went through something, you weren't the only one. So transparent stories, that people can relate to, and just to show people that we fail. Yep, we fell in life, but we got back up and we told what happened to us, and we gave tips on what to do to stay out of that situation.
Okay. Awesome. So, um, I want to dig a little deeper and talk about why it is that you qualify to be in that collaborative effort. And
Say the
also,
last.
I want to. Oh, I said I wanted to dig deeper in that and talk about why you qualified to be a part of that collaborative effort. And I want to encourage our listeners to give questions or comments. We see them and we'll post them and address them as they come in the best way possible.
Okay.
So let's deal with that. Why, what in your background has happened that makes you be qualified to join a collaborative effort such as this particular book?
So Precious Brown, she was looking for women who wanted to tell their stories, something traumatic, drastic, like something really deep that people can relate to and people can heal from. And so it wasn't like a specific thing that you had to talk about. It was really up to us. And so I chose depression. I chose domestic violence. And so my story is about how I battled with domestic violence and how I fell into a depression from the domestic violence. And so I chose that topic because a lot of people don't talk about depression, especially our color. It's, take a pill or you'll get over it or something like that. And we definitely don't talk about domestic violence. And so that was something that I got through, and I'm so glad that I did. But it was something that no one knew about, and so I felt that telling that part of me to the world, so that they can see that I made it through. And I used that story to show people that it's okay to go through that because I thought it wasn't okay, and that I made it out of it.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. It's a powerful testimony, 'cause so many haven't made it out. Um, I had gone onto the website, the hotline.org. This is something that you guys can use as a resource for information about the topic that we're speaking on today. Um, but some of these statistics were troubling. So here I have almost half of all women and men in the U.S. have experienced psychological aggression by an intimate partner in their lifetime.
Yes.
And did you have any experiences in your lifetime in dealing with your abusive relationships that were psychological aggressive?
You froze for a minute, Asia.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I say, did you have any experiences that were psychologically aggressive in your relationship?
Oh my goodness, yes. So like I said, I fell into a depression, but it wasn't just about the domestic violence. It was other things that I was going through. And so the first thing was, when you're in a relationship like that, especially a marriage, you're thinking this person that you're with, they're going to tell you things that's going to help you or benefit you, or you like, well, they're not going to tell me anything wrong, that, so you believe them. And so when people are manipulative and they are mentally abusive, you tend to take that in, and you start believing it, because this is the person that you love. You're with this person, so it's like, well, maybe I am, maybe I do. So you start believing those things, and it messes with your psychic. It messes with your mental stability, because you start feeling low, you start feeling worthless. And it's like it affects your daily activities, it affects your sleep, it affects your work, it affects everything that you're going through. And so that played a big part on why I fell into a depression. I started, feeling so worthless, and my self-esteem was so low, and it was just like I just didn't care anymore. And then it was like a overload. Like, all of this is coming to me. I was going to school, I was taking care of my kids, I was taking care of the home, still had to take care of him. And so that plays, it's like a mind game, or tug of war. It's like, you got the bad part over here that's going on, and you want to be this good person. So it's like, you're going back and forth, back and forth. And that everyday tug of war, it plays a big part of, how you go about your daily activities, and how you go about your day, how you feel about yourself on a daily basis.
Yeah, yeah, which actually leads me into this other part. So one of the things that happens, and I actually didn't know what it was when I was going through it, and that is gaslighting. So I imagine that since I didn't know what it was, there's probably other people that don't know what it was. So here it is. It is gaslighting, right?
Oh my
Gaslighting is
goodness.
when experiences are twisted and used against you, causing you to question your reality. So would you say that you experienced that in your previous
Yes.
relationship?
Yes. I didn't even know that was what it was called.
Yeah, there you go.
I just
The
thought I
more
was
you
going
know.
crazy.
Yeah, it has a term. So yeah,
Yes,
so tell me about that
gaslighting.
experience.
And you start to believe, certain things that's not real. Like, you know, oh, you're seeing another person, or oh, you're not going to the store. And it's like, wait a minute, maybe I'm not going to the store. Or you made
Yeah,
that man talk to you or smile at you or say something like that. Well, maybe I did say something that made him. So you start believing those things, and it's like that back and forth, like, no, I didn't. Then as you hear them saying, like, well, maybe I did. And that's that's
right,
emotionally stressful when you're going back and forth like that. What should you believe? What should you not believe? Is this true or is it not true? Like, oh my God. But
right,
now I know
absolutely.
that that's what it's called.
It is called gaslighting. That's an
Gaslighting.
interesting thing. Yeah, I always wonder, like, what is their purpose in doing this? What do you think the purpose is when they decide to attack you in that mental and emotional way?
Honestly, because over the years, finding out that, because you know what, I don't know about you, Asia, but when I was in it, like really in it, I didn't really look at it as domestic violence or financial abuse and things like that until years later, and I started really learning about it and talking about it and reading more about it. But being in it, you really don't know like what you're actually experiencing and what's it called. Like, I didn't know it was called gaslighting. And so you're just in it, and you start to believe everything. But one of the things is the person being manipulating, but that's not even the only thing that's going on. For someone to belittle you like that on a daily basis, watch your every move, accuse you of everything, accuse you of lying, and everything is so negative, that person has something going on with them, something psychological with them. It's either self-esteem, or something happened to them, or they just don't feel good about what's going on in their life. That's what I've learned, over the years. And I'm thinking back, and the more I talk about it, like, it wasn't me, it was him. Like, he felt bad about his life, so he had to make me feel bad about what was going on with me. I went to school. He had something to say about me going to school, so everything that I was trying to do that was positive, he had something to say about it. And now that I think about it and talk about it, it's like, oh, so he wasn't going to school, or this wasn't going right in his life. So it wasn't just about him being, manipulating. It was about how he felt about himself.
Yeah. I didn't really give too much thought about how they felt about themselves, but you're absolutely right. I know I dealt with the same situation in regards to the gaslighting. And someone asked in the comments, why is it called gaslighting? Honestly, I don't know. I have to look into that and find out why it's called gaslighting. I'm not really sure why it's called that, but I would think, so in my mind, I'm thinking that it would be called that because, kind of like fuel to the fire kind of situation. Once you start laying out your, the fuel, and then you light that fire, it slowly but gradually grows. And that's exactly what happens in this situation. They start off small and start making you believe that you are going nuts, pretty much.
Yes.
Not true. What it is that you see or feel or experience is not true, to the point that it breaks you down and makes you dependent upon them, because you no longer know who you are. So
you just made a good point.
So
you
that's
just made
the reason I'm thinking. What
can
do you
I,
have to say?
I was gonna say, can I speak on that now that you said that? I didn't really think about that, maybe the reason. Thinking about in the beginning, like, when we first met, and I hear this a lot, men like that target women who's probably experienced, something bad in their life or something traumatic, and they take advantage of that, and slowly but surely they, they're the nice guy, and then they start adding little things, and you don't pay attention to it until later on. Like, he wasn't like that before, but all along he really was. He just wasn't giving it all to you. It was just like a little bit at a time. Like, and they use that, they manipulate. It's like going fishing. Like, each time you're going to let some of that, go in that water. Each time you're going to let more and more go so you can reel it in. They start off with the wooing, the taking you out to dinner and buying you things and giving you flowers and stuff like that. And then slowly but surely taking a little bit away, like, stop holding the door for you just don't pay attention to. So now that you say that flame and adding a little bit of that lighting fluid, it makes sense. It makes perfectly good sense.
Yeah. That's the way I've been seeing it.
You learn every day.
The reason, I know, right? The more you know. But the reasoning behind it, I think, is them wanting to have some kind of control. That's what they're trying to do. Once they break you down, they own you. They are controlling you because you no longer know who you are. So moving on to the next point, it says most female victims of intimate partner violence were previously victimized by the same offender at rates of 77% for women ages 18 to 24, 76% for ages 25 to 34, 81% for ages 35 to 49. Look at that rate going higher and higher. So I'm wondering, why is that? Why do we allow ourselves to get re-victimized? Why is it that we're not like, oh, we see what's happening right now. No, you're not going to do this to me. What do you think that's about, that we allow ourselves? Because I mean, you did stay in your abusive relationship for a little while, right?
15 years.
That's a long while. It's not a little while.
That was over half of my adult life.
So what do you think happened in that situation that made you stay as long as you did?
I think it was a number of things. One, I'm not even going to say it was about being comfortable, because I wasn't. I think it was about being complacent and being afraid of what else was out there. And that's another thing, that controlling thing. Like he used to say, you have 3 kids. No man wants to be dealing with a woman with 3 kids, and he was already helping me raise my 3 kids because he was the stepfather, but he helped me raise them. And so I started believing it, like, man, I've been with this man for 5, 6, 7 years, and I got to go out here and start over, with 3 kids. And so I really started to believe that. And so the moment I thought about leaving, I would think about what he would say. And they know how to say certain things that to get to you. And it's like, man, maybe he's right. So I might as well stay where I'm at. I've been in it this long, might as well stay where I'm at. And then you start hoping and wishing that things will get better, And so you don't leave, but they don't get better. Here comes another problem. So now it's something else, like planning to buy a home or something like that. And so you're in the middle of a process. You don't want to take yourself out of that and start over, So it's just a number of things. And I think the older you get, you don't want to keep starting over the older you get. I think for me, that's what it was.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would explain why the percentages went higher as the ages went up. That makes a lot of sense. And that actually ties into what we just talked about in regards to gaslighting. What you described was exactly that, gaslighting. So by the time we get to those stages, we're like, oh, we can't, I don't have anybody else. There's no way that anybody else would take me.
Right.
Yeah. You would rather be abused than be alone. Yeah. It's true. I've actually heard
not
that
for
before.
Me. No, not for me.
Yeah. I've heard that before, because it was out of fear. So it wasn't that they just wanted companionship. It was them being afraid to be out on their own. And some people are actually afraid of that. Did you ever talk to someone about the abuse? Is the question that is out there. So did you ever talk to anybody about the abuse?
No, I did not. And it's so crazy, because like I said, I was in it for 15 years and no one knew. So some of my closest friends, you're going to talk to your girlfriends about an argument or something like that. Like, girl, he said something crazy again, and but not the whole story. So out of those 15 years, no one knew. My kids didn't know, because they know how to clean it up before, somebody comes home. So he knew, like, you better clean this house up before these kids get here. It will always happen, like, when they were gone for the weekend or something like that. My mom stayed with us the last 6, 7 years. And that's like the towards the worst part of it, because it was so emotionally abusive. Like he just didn't even care what name he called me and what he said to me. So the threats got worse, things like that. So the physical abuse was still there, but not as bad. So like I said, my mom stayed with us for the last 6, 7 years, and like she would hear us arguing, and he would make it like, you better be quiet, because if she hear, like make it seem like it was my fault. And so she would like send us little scriptures and text messages like, y'all make up, it's okay. And I would be sitting there like, oh, she just don't understand. She don't know. She don't know.
Yeah.
And no one knew. I didn't talk to anybody. One, because I was embarrassed. And then for him, like my mom just like, oh, he helped you with these kids. She just praised him for that. Like he was the best son-in-law on earth, you know, because he helped me raise those kids. And so that image, you know, I didn't want her to think anything bad. My family, like, you know, everybody thought, you know, good things about him. I didn't want to involve them. It's just a number of reasons why I didn't say anything. And then people always say, why did you stay so long? Why didn't you say anything? When someone threatens your life, you better take it serious. You don't take that lightly when someone says they're going to do something to you or your family. Or even when I thought about bringing my cousins, my male cousins in it, like I'm just going to call so and so and they're going to come over here and beat him up. He would say certain things like, you better not call. You think if you call so and so, I got my guys and they're gonna. Then I think about that. Why would I have somebody in my family get killed over something that I have myself involved in? It's no one else's fault. So it would just be like, you know what, forget it. Forget it. I just won't say anything.
Yeah, good point.
And being embarrassed. It was embarrassing for me to tell somebody I'm this big time educator and I'm at home letting somebody smack me around. Like, you know, it was just embarrassing.
Yeah. Michelle, are you asking a question or are you stating something? You said that if you talk bad in front of your mom, I'm thinking that she's asking a question.
She's probably asking a question.
So what's your response to that?
If it's a question, no, he wouldn't talk bad in front of my mom. Those last, right before he died, like the last few weeks where it got just like out of hand, like the drinking got out of hand, he just became this other person. That's when he wasn't himself. So he didn't even care. Like he wouldn't even curse in front of my mom. So those last few weeks, like he was just like, shut the F up. And she was like, so shocked. And I'm looking like, if she only knew that it was more than that. So not for the most part. No, he didn't talk bad in front of her. He didn't call me nothing. You know, they joked and stuff like that, but he didn't call me out my name. He just a totally different person. Like he would kiss me on my neck when I would be in the kitchen cooking. You know, when people were in there and I'm looking at him like, this crazy. Like, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that because my family, so my parents, I won't say that all of my family knew, but my parents knew that there were things going on. They knew a lot of the situation, but they didn't know all of it, but they knew enough to want me to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I had reasons that I didn't feel I didn't feel comfortable with leaving. I thought as a Christian woman that I was supposed to fight for my marriage and try to help him do better. I think I remember hearing you say the same thing, that you thought you were obligated.
Mm-hmm. I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that was the other reason why I stayed, like, because I was at church, I was singing in a choir, I was, everything, you name it. I was part of this, I was part of that in the church. And it was like, like every time I thought about leaving, the pastor was like talking to me, and, or I'm reading in the Bible, like any situation that we were going through, I would go find it in the Bible to figure out what I needed to do, because I definitely didn't want to be that wife, that bad wife, or that have that bad image. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing my part. So even though he was sending me through all of that, I still came home and cooked. I still washed his clothes. I still took care of, I did my submissive part, because I didn't want God to look down on me like, you're doing this. And it was like when I would remove myself out of the bedroom, I'm reading in the Bible, like, I'm like, oh, I got to go back in there. So I was just making sure that I was doing what God wanted me to do. I was being that wife that God wanted me to be. And that was another reason why I didn't leave. It's just making sure that I'm not supposed to leave, or I'm supposed to, stick with it until, something gets better. So
Yeah. So we have another question. It says, did he abuse the children? Did he abuse your children?
he didn't he didn't abuse them, but he was in the military, so he was very, very stern and very firm with them. Like, it was certain things, like, I didn't get whooped that much, growing up. And it was just like, oh my God, anytime,
Mm-hmm.
when I hit my kids, I felt bad, I cried. But, for someone else to hit your kids, it's like, you know, and then if I said something like, don't hit them so many times. Why you gotta hit them so many times? It's like, you want me to help you raise these kids or what? Let me do it if you're gonna do it, or I'm not gonna do it at all. Stop being overreactive. Stop being, and it'd be like, oh, well, maybe I am, but not abuse them. No, not like that. But he was rough with them.
Do you think that you would have responded differently if they had been abused by him?
I don't know. Because I
Hmm.
watch these movies. I just watched them Color Girls or something like that. I just watched that the
Uh-huh.
other day when he threw the kids out of the window.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God, what if what if that was me? Because she had plenty of chances to leave. And I'm like, what if that would have been my kids? And I'm like, oh, if he did that to his own kids, my husband could have did that to mine, and those are not even his kids. And it was just like, oh my God, I don't know, I really don't know. I would have to
Yeah.
be in that situation to know what I would have done in that situation.
Yeah. Well, thank God that you weren't
Right.
in that situation.
But I never thought
Um.
that he would, because he didn't even want them to see him hitting me. He didn't want them to see that image. He cleaned that up real fast. So he was the perfect, dad to them.
Okay. Um. It is my understanding that he did eventually pass. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
So there's a question that was wondering how you felt when that happened.
Well, I wasn't expecting that. You know what? Oh my goodness. I'm just gonna be honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Please do.
felt different things. Of course, saddened, because you don't want anything like that happening to anybody. But more than 50% of me felt so relieved that it was over, that I didn't have to deal with that anymore. I mean, can you imagine 15 years, right? And so
Yeah.
I was so mentally exhausted. Toward the end, like I said, he had started drinking so much that he became a different person. So toward the
Mm-hmm.
end, I didn't get any sleep, because he was staying up to 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be at work at 7. So I would probably doze off for an hour. So toward the end, I was feeling so just drained. My body was drained. My mind was drained. I didn't have any more fight in me. I was going to school. I couldn't really concentrate. I had stopped going to church. And it was like, it came down to, I couldn't even play my gospel music anymore. So it was just like, what else do I have? And so I have to sneak, play my music low. And it was just like, I'm not me anymore. Like, forget it, Lord, just take me. Just take me, because I can't. It was so painful. And I was just so tired of fighting, the mental fight, just everything, cleaning up the house. And it was just, fighting, physically fighting him back. I didn't even have any energy to fight him back anymore. And it was just like, no one should have to sleep with objects under their pillow. Like, who was doing that? And so when he passed, it was just like, I was sad, but I was so relieved. I was just so relieved that I didn't have to go through that again. And the fact that I didn't die, my life was spared. I didn't die in it. His life was taken and not mine. So I was so relieved that I made it through, and I was like, you know what? Now this can all die. You know, I can bury this story. I don't have to tell anybody, about it. So it was a sense of relief. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I completely understand. I really do. There's this, do you feel you have low self-esteem, or did that cause you to have low self-esteem?
It caused me to have very low self-esteem, but I think because I was so young when I met him, and he knew that, like, I wasn't exposed to a lot of things, and he knew, like, oh, where you been all your life? I'm going to show you the world. Because he was in the Navy, so he traveled the world so many times, and he saw things and he did things. And so him presenting that to me, like, oh wow, and fancy restaurants and showing me how to dress, like a lady and things like that. So in the beginning, it wasn't about me having low self-esteem. I really didn't even know who I was as a woman. I think I was like 22 when I met him. And so I really didn't know who I was as a Black woman, becoming that grown woman. And then later on in the years, going through what I went through with him, then I started hearing about the women, and it was just like, I got to go through this and deal with him cheating and stuff like that. I started feeling so low about myself, and it was like he was making it seem like it was me. Well, if you don't do this, I don't have to talk to other women, or if I had evidence, like, you crazy, you crazy. And then I'm starting to think, like, maybe I am, maybe I am overreacting. It was, yeah. And then when I would find out something was true later on, that he lied to me, it was like, I am so dumb. But then it's like, why am I in this? And then I would, like, you know what? I'm just gonna start saving money. And here he comes, like, you think I don't know about you saving money? You think I don't know? And I'm like, man. Then he'd be like, I got a tracker on your car. I know how many miles it takes to get to the library. You didn't go to the library. You stopped. I'm like, what?
Goodness.
I know how long it takes to go to the library and come back home. And so I was so scared to even stop for gas on the way home.
Oh my God, he went straight
Yes.
FBI.
Yes. It was
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
It was crazy. Sometimes I look back like, what in the world? What?
So let me ask you honestly. There's this question out here, and I want to know the same. Do you think you would have stayed longer had he not passed?
No, because I was already looking into a divorce lawyer. I was already looking, yeah, and I had already. He didn't want me to have a bank account, but I had to sneak and get one because we were in the process of buying a home, and so everything that I had to do, I was sneaking to do it. Like my school checks, he would take my school checks and spend it on himself. So I stopped telling him when I got school checks and started using it to, like, pay off stuff that was on my credit and pay bills and things like that. So I was already in that process of, like, mentally, it was either I'm gonna die in this, or I'm gonna find out how to get out of it, in a way where he wouldn't find out, or whatever. So I had just started looking for a divorce lawyer.
Okay. Well, good that you got to that point. Finally, right?
Right.
So let's move forward in your journey. After dealing with all of that with him and then him passing, what things did you do to try to rebuild, or to heal, or recoup, get over what has happened to you for over a decade?
The first thing I did was I got back in church. I had left town, I moved, I packed up and left, and I tried to create this new identity, just get away from everything and everybody. And so I got into church, I went to grief group, but the grief group that I went to, it was for, like, recovering alcoholics or anyone in there that was there for the loss of a husband and the abuse. And so I didn't do a lot of talking. I did a lot of listening. And so listening to these other women, it just helped me realize like where I was in my life and what I needed to do. And so I got back in church. I got my health, back right. I went to the doctor. I started eating right, exercising again, because that stuff really plays a part on your health. I had so many health issues, digestive issues. I was back and forth to the hospital, to the doctor. So, taking care of me, my health, that was most important. Sleeping. I couldn't. The first night I got some sleep, man. Staying up all night like that. It was so draining. And so, taking care of my health, going back to school, finding me another job. So making sure that I was doing things for me and not for someone else, because when you're in that type of relationship, you're doing everything to please somebody else, right? And so when you don't have that anymore, it's all about you. So I don't have to worry about somebody looking over my shoulder or telling me not to spend this or telling me not to dress this kind of way. I didn't even wear leggings. I never wore like short sleeve shirts like this or tank tops. I wore long dresses, turtlenecks. I hate stuff on my neck, and I had to wear turtlenecks. And so it was about being free. And, I had my friends like, girl, get those jeans, buy those jeans. I'm like, they're too tight. They're too tight. Like, no, they're not. Because I was so used to hearing, oh, you wearing those tight jeans, you're trying to show your butt, things like that. So just being me and accepting me and loving me. That's what it was. It was about loving me, doing what I wanted to do with my hair. It'd be times I'd be in the mirror like, yeah, now. Laughing when I wanted to laugh, because I couldn't. If I laughed at something, it was like, what you laughing at, And then I got my teeth fixed, because he was always talking about my teeth. So I just did a lot of rebuilding me physically, emotionally, spiritually, just gaining my self-esteem back, gaining my sense of self. I didn't even know who I was anymore. I just became a different person. I went to work. Yeah, going to work with little kids, it's easy to laugh and play and sing songs and things like that. But I didn't go around adults. I was a teacher, so I didn't go around my family anymore. And so then it was like, I went to Cincinnati. I went on a trip. Like, I just did things, and wasn't afraid to do it, and I did it for me. And so now you wouldn't catch me smiling the way I smile now. If you look back on old pictures, I always smile with a closed mouth. I didn't smile like a happy smile. It was always a fake smile, because it's easy to smile through pain. It really is. You force yourself to do it, fake smile. But now my smile is not fake. And so I learned how to love things and love my smile and love my laughter and understanding what makes me smile. So it was just about finding me and loving me.
That's beautiful.
I know that was a long answer, right?
No, I'm glad you gave a thorough answer. Actually, I actually want more. I want to know, how did you get from, you dealt with your rebuilding, and now you're on the other side of that, helping others to rebuild as well, as you were talking about earlier in the conversation. So what led you to that point of getting to the point where you're like, okay, now I can help somebody else?
In the beginning, hearing like teenagers, young women. I have two young men, and I always, even though I went through what I went through, I would get on them if I caught them mistreating a girl, a female. If I caught them, calling a girl out of her name. And I think most of that came from me going through what I went through. But a part of me is like, that is not how you treat a female. You think about your mother. Would you want someone calling your mother, that? Would you want someone treating your mother like that? And so that was one thing, showing them how a female is supposed to be treated. But then I'm looking at these young girls and I'm like, and why are you taking that anyway? So me talking to these young girls and like get spilling into them, about self-worth and know who you are and love yourself, because I didn't do that. And that's why I took that abuse and that behavior, because I didn't love myself, because I had low self-esteem, because I didn't know myself and know my worth and things like that. And so it was so easy for me to pour into teenage girls and young women, like, you don't have to take that, and then I would think to myself, like, you're telling them what you went through, but that's the whole point. You want to talk to people, talk to these women, these young girls, so that, and you don't even have to do it with and tell your story. You just, give them a little bit about, what not to do. And if it takes telling a piece of your story, that's what I do. Like, look, let me tell you what I went through, and you don't want to go through that, because this is how it starts. It starts with that first push. You don't let nobody push you, because that, and I remember taking that first push, and it was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to push you like that. Or that fake choke, how they fake choke you, and then it becomes real. Don't let nobody put their hands on your neck. So talking to girls like that, and so thinking back to what I took and why I took it, I can help other women either, help them not go through what I went through. And if they are already going through it, help them to get out of it, with that, esteem and feeling good that, no, I don't have to take this stuff, because if I had the esteem that I have now, if I felt the way that I feel about myself now, oh, there was no way that I would have took what I took. But because I didn't have what I have now, and I didn't feel the way I feel about myself now, and I didn't know who I was. And then I'm older. I was young, 21, 22, 23. I didn't know who I was. And then it takes being educated, educating yourself and learning and knowing, and that's how you help people too. You can't help somebody if you don't know. And so that's a big push for me, realizing what I went through. If I can help somebody not go through that, because let me tell you something, just because I made it out, it doesn't mean you're going to make it out. And so me telling somebody that, like, yeah, you're looking at somebody that made it out, but that doesn't mean you will. Think back to the news and how a lot of those women, they didn't make it out. I'm just blessed. I'm one of few that's blessed to say that I made it out. So if I can help somebody make it out alive and not go through what I went through, I've done my job. And we all know sometimes you have to experience, and it's sad that, that you have to experience things like that, but God knows what he's doing. He allows you to go through things to rebuild you so that you can help somebody else, right? So that you can, help somebody, understand who they are. And then in the end, you give God the glory. That's what it's all about. You give God the glory.
Absolutely. So what?
I'm not going to start preaching.
I know, right? You preach all you want on this show. What kind of tools did you use in your rebuilding phase?
So like I said, I went back to church. I read, I got so many books. I was just ordering books, buying books, going to the library. I would stay in the library for hours and just read. I got a lot of, African pride, and I read a lot of Iyanla Vanzant books, and, listening to motivational speakers. I would be at work or whatever at home and just have things playing around me to build, the affirmation. And then just going to school helped. It really helped, because that helped build my sense of who I wanted to be in the future, my career, and who I wanted to help. But if you're talking about lately, the tools and the resources that I've found is I got my life coaching certificate. I have another coach who the lady who did the book, Precious. She's helping me, man, pushing me to use this story, because it was like, okay, I wrote my story. All right. But I thought it was going to end there. I wrote my story in the book, and I'm like, somebody going to read it. It's going to help somebody. But it's not even about that now. It's about using that story and telling a story, telling bits and pieces, and using that, different parts of the story to help, where I can help. So the depression, it talks about, why I fell into depression, why I took the abuse, and, how to stay away from toxic people. So the different things that I went through in that abuse, the 15 years, I went through a lot. How to use that to help people in so many ways. And so that's what she helps us do, to find out what else we can use that story. There she is. 'Cause I'm like, she pushed me. How else we can use our story to help people? So not just about the domestic violence. My story is about domestic violence, but it's so many other things in my story that help other people, because people don't realize it's different ways you can fall into depression. That was just one of the reasons why I fell into depression. That stress overload of not telling anybody. I would never, ever do that again. That was a lot to hold on to for that many years, and dealing with other things that I was dealing with. I had so much on my shoulder that I didn't even have to carry by myself. I had family, I had friends, but I didn't even use those resources. And I felt that nobody would understand. And it was like, ain't nobody going through this crazy mess with me. But now hearing your story, other people's stories, like I know now that I'm not the only one that went through it. But before, I couldn't have paid nobody to tell me that it was somebody else out there going through what I was going through. Like, and no, he got to be the only crazy man out there. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
That's great, and I totally appreciate you and your drive and your vision and your tenacity and making sure that other people recognize that they're not alone. We need more people like you.
And it's also part of your healing. It's because I wasn't totally healed. When I was writing that manuscript, the days that I sat up and wrote, every time I touched that paper, I cried because I didn't get it all out, so writing it from the beginning to the end, to the time of his death, writing it and the flashbacks, and I kept every notebook because I had to hide those too. Write like little things that he would do to me or say to me. I would hurry up and write it, if he wasn't home, and I would hide my notebook. And so every time I moved, those notebooks went with me. So when I wrote the manuscript, I think I collected about 15 notebooks. And so just like I put that stuff in the back of my mind, and it was just like, okay, it's done, it's over with, I'm going to move on. But I really wasn't moving on the way I should have moved on, because I really didn't heal until I got it all out. And that was part of that healing process. And then, like I said, now with Precious pushing me to use that and get more out of it, it's continuing to heal whatever part that's left in me that needs to be healed. I still get emotional sometimes, telling a story, but not like before. I don't drop tears like before. But that was a huge healing process. It was really big, that writing and getting it all out.
Yeah, I feel you. And looking at all the research that I went through, I actually assisted my mother in another talk show, and she had me dealing with the research portion, coming up with news articles, letting people know what's going on, what bills have passed, and things like that. And it wasn't until then that I realized, wow, there are millions of people that have dealt with the things that I dealt with. It's really deep and sad. And so many are dealing with that. And so many of us
Yes.
put it in the back of our mind until the explosion. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely right. Yeah, that's unfortunate, and it plays out so differently for so many different people.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I
tonight,
did
let's
feel
become,
myself getting angry. Did you feel that,
yeah,
Asia? Getting like angry at
oh
every little thing? Oh my God. I
yeah,
oh my goodness. And when I get angry, especially
yeah.
the young Evelyn, it was no joke. And so I remember being out like at the store, and like I would be standing in line and a guy would be like, smile, like for what? And they'd be like, man, because I didn't smile. I'd be standing thinking about my day, thinking about what I had to go home to. And somebody would be like, smile. And I'm like, for what? What am I smiling for? I don't have a reason to smile. They just back off. And then later on, like, I did not have to talk like that. But it's just that hurt and that anger, just coming out of you. And I took a lot of stuff out on my kids. Like, I was just like, I would be so in a room or cooking and stuff, and trying to hide my tears, and they would do something and I would just yell at them, and I would be so like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It was just, yeah. And I remember becoming so bitter and just angry about everything. And I didn't like that. That's not me. That's not me.
Yeah, yeah, I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know that's what you do.
I don't have a mean bone in my body.
You sure don't. Tell
I better not see
Yeah.
nobody put nothing on this chat.
I see you.
She said, I can't imagine you angry. Oh, she didn't know me back then. I was angry. I was angry.
Slowly.
And part of me was angry because it was like I wanted somebody to know, but it's like nobody knows what I'm going through. Can't nobody see? I was angry about that too.
Yeah. Like, why don't you just see? Why don't you
Right.
know it?
Come save me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. So I'm going to bring this last statistic out. So there's an average of 24 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in the United States. More than 12 million women and men over the course of a single year.
That's crazy.
It's a lot of people.
That's
It's
crazy.
insane. So we need people like you. We need people that are willing to speak up, share their testimony, share how you made it through, share resources that are available, to help people recognize that they're not alone and that there is a way out.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully through the efforts of people like you and others, we'll be able to make those numbers go down.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Talk about it. I tell people,
for.
write about it. Write. Write. Just
Yeah.
write and get it out.
Yeah. Yes, I haven't written my book yet, but I'm working.
What? Look at me. Look at me. What?
I know.
I'm just messing.
I'm working on it.
It wasn't even that easy for them to get me to write. It took a few people to be like, go on and do it, because I'm like, no, that story is gone. No. No. But I did it. I did it.
Yeah. I was hesitant because I was like, well, the story is being written. I don't feel like I'm ready, but at this point, I do feel like I can. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Write your story, Asia.
Yes, ma'am. Working on it. I wanted to bring this up again. The hotline.org is the best site to go to if you need information. If you're going through abuse or if you know someone that's going through it, please go to that website. Also, they have phone numbers. So there it is, 1-800-799-SAFE or 1-800-799-7233. Call that number and they will be with you. And they do understand that some people are afraid of their significant others or their abusers, seeing them trying to get help, so they have things for you to use on their site to immediately get out of there. So if you're not showing, they're sensitive to what you're going through in these times. So those are good tools to use there. They would pull all kinds of pieces in that.
Yes, they did.
Thank you.
They did.
So
Thank you,
I'm
Precious.
glad. Thank you, Precious. So thank all of you. I truly appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing your testimony and sharing, how you made it through, what it's like to get to the other side of this. I truly appreciate it. And
Thank you.
I just want to also, let me also show her information again. And here is her her website, her Facebook, and her email. If you want more information about what she does, you want to connect, this is how you get to her.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Reach out to me.
Thank you so much, Miss Evelyn, for
You're
joining us on the
welcome.
show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you were a great guest. And I want everybody to remember to appreciate God's perfect design, which is you.
Yes.
So, God didn't make any mistakes. You're made the way you were made for a reason. You are perfect. And, okay, so right before I go off, I was supposed to form healing from our wounds has helped others to heal from their wounds and walk into their redefined purpose. Amen.
Oh, I see. I made it through this whole show without crying, and here she comes.
See what you did. Yes,
I'm so glad.
Thank you.
When they say God uses you, He uses you.
Amen to that. And also, you guys can also get a hold of me. Here's my email, asia@asiajamal.com, or you can go on my website. And for those of you that are seeing me on YouTube or Periscope or Facebook, follow me, subscribe, all that. I got more to get. So for now, have a good night, everybody, and I will see you again next week at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, Friday night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you, A.